I want people to know that you can really do whatever you want to do in life, and it's not a cliche, it's a fact.
Jordan Howlett, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really excited.
Oh, we're excited to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are and where you're from?
I started playing sports at like 16 years old. I chose baseball. I never touched a baseball before. I never swung a baseball bat. I did not know how intense it was going to be. But all I knew is that the minute that I walked into a baseball field and started actually playing and trying, I was awful. It was awful. It was an awful practice. I showed up with a afro too big for a hat, and I had basketball shorts and big old basketball shoes, and I did not know what to do at all. And it was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. But I fell in love with the idea of the fact that I'm starting out in such a space where I wasn't good at all, and I wanted to take it as far as I possibly could to be a professional baseball player. The minute I stepped on the field, I loved the idea, but I knew I had to just keep moving forward with it. So I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and I knew that the best way for me to become a professional was to go to a Division I school. I knew that it was going to take a lot of work, a tremendous amount of work and dedication. So that's what I put towards that. I went to community college at a high school, and I was in community college. I was not good still. Everybody was bigger and stronger and faster, but I knew I needed to do that. So I worked out about 2-3 times a day. I was eating as much as I could every single day. The biggest factor was sleep. I wasn't getting a lot of sleep at the time because I was so stressed out. But in order to develop your body, you have to sleep. You got to sleep. You got to oversleep. You got to sleep 8, 9, 10 hours a day if you can. So that was all I was focusing on, was eating, sleeping, drinking, walking, talking, baseball.
So you decide you're all in on this baseball thing.
Mm-hmm. So I decided to, I knew I had to promote myself. So what happened was I would email about 120 different coaches a day. Every single Division I, II, and III school. Every single school. Their head coach, their assistant coach, their assistant coach. I would look at all their email. I would send emails out every single day, about 150 of them if I could. And I was able to catch the attention of UC Riverside. I had a workout over there, and one of the coaches, they caught interest. He said that he liked the tools I carried. I was young. I was dedicated. I was hungry. So he said that if I keep my grades up, I can apply and I'd be a preferred walk-on. Well, near the end of community college, something in me told myself, let me call the school, let me call the athletic department, let me double check and make sure that everything is still copacetic before I graduate. I gave him a call. The coach that wanted to recruit me moved to China to coach the Chinese national team. And so nobody at that school has heard of me. From the athletic department, everybody else, I was non-existent. So I'm about to leave community college and I'm back at square one. There's now no school that wants me or even knows of me. And I still had no money. So I applied to UCR. I got accepted academically. I went through the whole entire academic process. And then I paid my first payment so I can get my classes. And I said, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to walk on. I'm just going to try out and see if they want me. So fast forward, I get to the tryout. I put everything I possibly could into that tryout. I waited. The coach said there's a 7-day period. So if you get a call, that means they want you. If you got no call, that means they don't want you. And by that 7th day, the night of that 6th day into the 7th day, when I tell you I was in tears, I was in tears in my car. I was just begging and begging and begging that this would be the time. I wanted this to be it so badly.
You're living at one moment in time on $2 a day, working out 3 times a day, dedicating your life to this, sleeping in your car by the field, getting food from the cafeteria there, having extra, all in on this dream to be a professional baseball athlete, but first starting in college, of course, too. And now you're in your car in tears for what? What happened specifically? I mean,
baseball, you fail more than you succeed. So going through that failure already, that's already grandfathered in, on top of everything else. On top of that, I'm behind everybody else already. The amount of people that said I couldn't do this was overwhelming. And again, 7 days. I got 7 days to see if I got it or not. And I was on 6 days radio silence, which means the next day was the last day. And I was in my car, and I woke up to a phone call from the coach, and I thought it was a dream because I already had 4 of them. So I'm actually, funny enough, it's a cliche. I'm pinching myself. I'm hitting myself. I'm drinking water. I'm trying to make sure this is real, and it is. He said, "Hey, get to the field." So that day, he had me hit probably 10 or 15 balls in the cages in my pajamas in 100-degree weather, trying to see if I can do things that baseball players are supposed to do. Go opposite field, hit center, go pull, all this stuff. So he saw I was coachable, and he gave me an opportunity. Made the team. They found out about my financial situation. I ended up getting my scholarship. I was able to finish out my schooling. By the time I'm getting ready to be a part of the team, coach is saying that he'd use me as a pinch runner. I could see some playing time on a Division I field, Division I game. I get to the offices at UC Riverside, the athletic offices, and as I'm getting my equipment to leave, they say, "Oh, you also know that you can't play for a whole entire year, right?" And it stopped me in my tracks. I said, "Why?" Because I passed so many classes, I technically, in the amount of credits that I guess exceeded, there's a weird rule at the NCAA to where because I exceeded the amount of credits that I needed transferred in, I have to then sit out an entire year. That means I only had 1 year of Division I play to actually try to make it to the professional level. By the time my senior year was wrapping up, I got the attention of Major League Scouts. The New York Mets, the Oakland A's, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. They were interested. I was so excited and elated that I was about to finish this story. It was going to have a storybook ending. COVID hits. Middle of our season. Cuts the season in half. Completely stops us playing. My senior year, mind you. I did not know my final day in a baseball uniform was my final day. I didn't know. Because our season ended. We all had to just finish out school from our apartments or whatever. I was hopefully expecting to be called back to be able to play. I never got that phone call. Eventually, I just found out through my other teammates from them posting on their stories on social media that they got called back. I never did. And I had to slowly realize while I was in my room, while I was in the house, that I was never going to play baseball again. And it was heartbreaking. It was very heartbreaking.
That's so tough. So many people can relate. A lot of well-laid plans and then totally derailed by COVID. We can relate here too at the foundation. It's wow, that is some difficult news. After all of that,
I mean, again, it adds a lot of layers to character development. I was a kid when I started, and it matures you fast because you have to be able to learn to accept the fact that not only people your age, but again, people you admire, people who are older, people that you seek advice and refuge from, don't believe in you. Some of them might laugh. This has happened. They laugh about you behind your back, things of that nature. And as a kid, you have to learn how to not take that with such a visceral, insulting that it affects you in the space, in the sport. You don't want to be jaded, but it's really hard. And by the time I got done and we're in COVID, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want my story to go untold.
Like you fall in love with this dream, right? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, that dream is impossible, and you've laid all these plans, you've put all this effort in. How do you, in that moment, bounce back?
In order to do something as big as trying to achieve something that big, again, for extreme dreams comes extreme measures. You have to go to the extreme. You have to be obsessed. And so I fell into this point where I didn't want to try with anything. I didn't. Because baseball was such a big part of my life. It encapsulated such an incredibly developmental part of my life that in my head, the idea of starting anything else was terrifying. So the first step to getting me out of that was I wanted to make a documentary about my baseball journey. I wanted my story to be told. So me and my brother and one of my best friends, we made a 5-minute documentary series called Dear Baseball. And it was a love letter to a sport that never loved me. And I wanted to share with everybody what I just was feeling like on the inside, but in a very hopefully inspiring way.
What made you want to document that that baseball docu-series? And was that totally inspired by someone else, or just I want to backtrack to that for a second, because that seems like the pivotal moment that led to all the rest.
I was taking a shower. I know it sounds really weird, but I was taking a shower, and I mean, I know, again, moments of like you said, of grief, moments of wallowing. That was probably my moment of wallowing at the time, because I sat there forever just thinking. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What happens now? Where do I go from here? I don't have a engineering degree. I don't have a medical degree. I did not study law. I put all my chips in this basket. I don't really have much to go off of. I have a family that I want to help. I got to support. I mean, again, we're all still struggling. There's so many things weighing on my brain, and so I wanted to make this documentary, and I wanted to do it in a way that was current, that was, that made sense to everybody worldwide, every athlete that would watch it, that could resonate with it. I want people to know that you can really do whatever you want to do in life, and it's not a cliche, it's a fact. We made it. Same thing how I was sending emails out to all these coaches. Everybody on Instagram has a contact button, and I figured, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to email every single person that I watch on TV, that I watch on sports, everybody. I'm going to email them and the people that they follow. This Dear Baseball video ended up getting about 30,000 views, and a few people saw it. It was so Uninterrupted, which is LeBron James's company, actually saw the story itself. They reached out and we did a project together. And also Mile 44, which is a company that works with Uninterrupted, they filmed another version of it as well and called it, the campaign was I'm going to do it anyway. And so we filmed that as well. So that was my first real experience with social media and the power of it and getting my face out there.
Incredible, your journey. And I think actually it's such a unique thing. So after this, you then had some jobs, less desirable jobs, like you mentioned that you were working at Krispy Kreme or working at some other fast food places, where you would come across customers who maybe didn't appreciate you for being there, or whatever the case may have been in that moment. You come across a hard customer, as they say. And then your reaction to that was to go to the bathroom and record, like almost like you talking to you about the experience in sort of like a cathartic way to vent, essentially. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. And that was kind of like the stepping stones of me wanting to do social media. And so my brother was doing TikTok at the time, I found out, and I was like, what is this? And I didn't think much of it, but eventually I started making my videos. I would use them as like little video diaries. I would explain to people what's going on in my day. I was working 9-to-5 jobs, so if things were, if there was like a customer that was being rude, or a manager that was being rude, or something along those lines, I would go in my bathroom mirror and I'd film and I'd tell people what happened in my day. And I'm just such a smart guy. I had my uniform on every time, so you can actually keep track where I was working at: Chipotle, Krispy Kreme, construction. You can see all the uniforms, and people resonated with it. They liked it. They liked me. They liked my jokes. Even if they didn't, they had an opinion. They had something. It started a conversation. And that was my first time experiencing people liking me for me. They liked my personality. When you're playing sports for so long, you're drowned in the idea of you are just an athlete. You are a cog in the machine, and if you can't do it, someone else is going to replace you. And we're always told to have that mentality, to stay humble, to stay working. So when you leave that space, you still in your brain think to yourself, I have no value outside of this, and this, because someone else can do exactly what I do. For TikTok, for videos, to give me validation that my personality actually had value. It was amazing. It was life-changing, because then I actually started feeling like a person. It gave me hope. It gave me a lot of hope to continue to do more videos. And eventually we started catching a following. And that was, I think, the weirdest thing, because you don't really notice it when it's happening. You get so lost in making the videos. The following's there, but you don't really look at it. You're just doing videos. And eventually it started growing from 40,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 to 300,000. And eventually, as an athlete, you look at those numbers and you think, wow, okay, these amount of people like what I'm doing. What can I do to get this out to more people And it turned into, a challenge that I haven't had since baseball, a passion. I can put my passions into something. And that was something that it escaped me for a long time after baseball, about half a year plus. So it was finally something I could put my passions into. And that's why video making became such a priority for me. And eventually the following grew to, obviously where it is now. And it has changed my whole perspective on how I view myself, how I talk to other athletes to let them know that they're humans as well. And that's how that all kind of came started.
And without having met you until now, really, I would not have known just how much tenacity you have to make those pivots, because there was a lot of doors shut in your face. And at each door that's shut, you made a pivot. And I don't know if it was as quick as you make it sound, because I can only assume that there was certain moments of it must have been a little bit of wallowing. You had some pretty high hopes for certain doors to open that slammed unexpectedly.
I've been down a lot. Normally I'll come right back up. There's times I stay down for a bit, but you gotta keep coming right back up, and you gotta keep trying. And at the end of the day, it was very much worth it, and I'm happy that I did it.
But ultimately, it was such a odd niche to discover, having these personal moments in a personal place with thousands of people and now millions of people. What an interesting insight that I guess you can only stumble upon through actually never quitting and just trying all the doors. So you've amassed a very large community. People obviously enjoy immensely what the content you're putting out, and you've fostered a large community of people who are very passionate about the videos you're putting out in a variety of categories. You must spark a lot of conversations in your comment section.
The best part about this is fan interaction. I really, really want fans to know that I hear them, I see them. Again, you want to talk to everybody, you want to be involved in every conversation, but also at the same time, you got a job to do. The way I see it is, the fans are my boss. I think it's even hard to call them fans. It's really just very good-hearted, hardworking people that love watching videos, and I'm blessed enough to be able to provide that. So I see the audience rather as my boss, and I work for them. So because of that, when I have some downtime, I'll look at some comments, I'll read some messages, and I'll see some people that are like, hey, I know you'll never see this, I know you'll never react to this, but I want to let you know that this, and then I'm like, oh my God, and I'll react, or I'll respond. And just to see their reaction to me messaging them is like, that right there fills my heart. The fact that people from walking down the street and people want to take a picture with me, it's overwhelmingly beautiful. The fact that they see me in such a regard to where they even want to take a picture, because I mind you, I lived in a space where, nobody really even cared what I was really doing at all. So to go from that to people seeing me in such a regard is fantastic. And I want to make sure that I can provide something for them that other people that I looked up to at the time didn't do for me.
That's very cool. You have a lot of interesting adventures through your content and through your page, where you do get to even just trying something new or taking something old and with a new twist. But all in all, the theme does hang on to you. You are definitely seeing the adventure in all that you do, and that shows through in your work. And your story is incredible. Starting out, at 16, thinking you're going to be in baseball, making your way all the way through all of the hurdles that entails. And then, of course, the bad news that makes you pivot into this entirely different, barely even adjacent dream, which is an incredible growth story. Then you went to, as I understand it, now you're on the Adventure TED Chats, but you also went to TED Talks, I understand, and shared your story. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went and what that was like?
I shot out, like, hey, I'd love to try it if you guys want to. And I went through an interview process. And so I gave them my story and they loved it. They wanted me to come by and share that story on a TED Talk. And I said, absolutely. And the whole entire time, you're making scripts, you're making sure that you have a speech planned and prepared. And, all the way leading up to the actual event itself, I was so nervous because you're making a speech, you're making a script about your life that you lived. When I got to the TED Talk itself, and you'll see the iconic red circle and you stand on it, and those lights are bright on you, and you got everybody there listening, and it's the initial silence that gets you. You walk up to the stage after the clapping's done. You walk up, you hear your own footsteps. You turn around to this crowd that you can barely see because the lights are so bright, and everything's like in slow motion. It's just like how sports is. Every athlete who practices like so much every single day, practice. By the time you get to the game and you're in the game, you forget everything. You forget everything you practice. You're just playing the game at that point. And you can only hope that the things that you practiced rubbed off on your natural instinct. That's how that all works. So for the TED Talk, that's how that went. I did my intro, and I think by like the fifth or sixth sentence, I completely forgot the rest of the script. And I knew that this was my one chance where I can tell my story and a lot of people are listening. That's all they're doing. It's just, it's a stage that I'm on that people, this is the one opportunity I can show people the humanity in Jordan the Stallion. I can show people the person behind the dude in the mirror. I can show people why this is so important and why I'm so grateful for what I do every day. And so that took over me, and I was able to give my whole entire story. And it was so emotional for me that near the end of the speech, I was about to cry. It was an amazing experience. Everybody there was so amazing and kind, and they treated me so well. And the people that were at the TED Talk had messaged me later on and tell me how much they enjoyed it. And I'm so grateful for it, because you're sharing this. I mean, you're speaking, but there's other speakers there as well. And the other speakers that were there, unreal. They're so talented with publicly speaking that the fact that I was able to be up there, in the same breath as them was amazing. I was so honored, but it was a great experience.
And your story is definitely one that people need to hear, and I want to thank you for coming here to share it with us as well, and a bit more also with some questions that we had, because that your story is one of tenacity and never giving up, and at any one of those stages it would have been perfectly understandable to feel sorry for yourself, give in, throw in the towel, and then there would be no Jordan Stallion. And what would we all be doing? I mean, it would be such a nightmare. We would not know any of these secrets. We wouldn't enjoy trying all the things that you've been trying, and you've got this beautiful community now that can really appreciate you for who you are, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us here today, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Tommy, thank you guys so much. This is amazing. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.